Can you hear me back there? Can you hear me now? All right. I know. Okay, we are happy to have Veterans of Foreign War Tennessee State Commander Michael Rue, retired as the first sergeant in the United States Army. He served in the military from 77 to 1998, and during his 20-plus year career with the National Security Agency, he served as a squad leader, platoon sergeant, and electronics instructor. In 1994, at the rank of Sergeant First Class, he volunteered and was appointed as the first sergeant of the new HHC Company 721st Military Intelligence Platoon at Fort Gordon, Georgia. He was selected and promoted to the rank of First Sergeant, where he served for 33 months, building a 220 soldier strong company. After retiring from the Army, Commander Rue continued to serve as an information technology specialist with the Internal Revenue. The eyes are on you. From 2000 to 2006, he retired as a GS-15 level cybersecurity manager. Commander Rue joined the Veterans of Foreign Wars in Memphis, Tennessee in 1987. He has served in the VFW in many leadership positions, including District 10 Commander, and 10 times as VFW Post 684 Commander. Commander Rue is married to his wife Bridget, who also served in the Army and was a computer programmer analyst. And she's in the Veterans of Foreign Wars Tennessee State Chief of Staff. Please welcome with me Veterans of Foreign Wars Tennessee State Commander Michael Rue.
Well, good evening. I appreciate that. That's the first time I've heard a bio read for me. It's usually on the other end. I'm honored to be here, and I appreciate all the work that the Manchester Post Commander King, David King, and all the members. Could you please stand? We appreciate all the work you put into this program and this weekend. You know it's not very easy. It's a lot of work. First thing I want to say is, for the Vietnam veterans, welcome home. We appreciate what you have done for us, younger veterans, my generation, the current generation. I joined the Army in 1977, and guess who my drill sergeants were? Vietnam veterans. They were tough, I'll give them that. I went, joined as an MP, went through Fort McClellan, Alabama, basic training in AIT, and I really appreciate what they did for me. Over my career, I had them as my mentors. I've heard words from many of the veterans now that were glad to have the Vietnam veterans there in the Gulf War in the early 90s, and recently in the Gulf, in Iraq. There's a few that were still out there in the early 2000s. But we appreciate what you've done. You came home. You not only served your country honorably in Vietnam, but you came home and made this nation much greater. The economy, the things that took off at that time, you made this country much better. You gave us opportunities. I want to say one thing for you. How many Vietnam veterans, could you please stand? I want to thank you personally for what you're serving. This. How many of you know about Agent Orange? To me, earlier this year, I had the honor of going to Washington, D.C. with our national president. We had a delegation that went around and talked to all the Tennessee senators, congressmen. One of the key legislation that's still out there, and it looks like they're not going to challenge it, is Blue Water Navy. being recognized for the Agent Orange. I told him it's a disgrace that we're almost 40 years down the road and we still haven't solved this problem. So it's now the legislation they're supporting, but there's a lawsuit that was actually was approved in a lower court. It was challenged. Good thing I had the paperwork. I'll put this out. The VA secretary says they will not challenge that lawsuit. That means that they will move forward with taking care of the Blue Water Navy veterans. So that's a huge accomplishment. The reason I bring that up because our current veterans, do we have any Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan veterans in the audience? Are you aware of burn pits? That legislation is out there. The Burn Pit Act for registration to ensure that they're now registering veterans in advance when they leave the military. I asked each one of them when we met, I said, you need to add this in. You need to notify those veterans. You have a database. You know who was in the Gulf, like the burn pits. You know who was stationed there. You need to personally send a letter to them. Because all of us in this room at one time probably still know of veterans that are not fully aware of what they're entitled to for the Agent Orange, correct? It's pretty bad. It's through word of mouth, through friends, occasionally on the media. The media is better. But it's our responsibility as the Veterans of Foreign Wars, all the other service organizations. We have the DAV. Do we have any others? American Legion, Vietnam Veterans. We're all here fighting for the same cause. And it takes all of us to actually stand up to our legislators and get their attention. The reason I say this is I had one of the congressmen ask me, he said, when are the veterans going to say enough and stop asking for more? So I looked at him. I spoke up for all of us. I said, when we stop giving billions of dollars to other countries that don't care about us, we put our veterans at the top of the list. They should be at the top priority. That's where our money should go. When we start doing that, then maybe we'll consider, our deficit. He said, we're $22 trillion in debt. That's not because of veterans. So that's not the answer. We're going to keep fighting. I ask, is there anyone in this audience that is not a member of a veterans organization? I believe everyone is. I encourage you, sir, anyone that's not a member, to join. Your voice needs to be heard. That's how we get our legislators' attention. Our national commander went in front of Congress, and he represents 1.1 million veterans. The Veterans of Foreign Wars is the largest combat veterans organization in the world. We have a total of approximately 1.6 million with our auxiliary. And saying the auxiliary, who in here is part of the auxiliary of the Veterans of Foreign Wars? Please stand. We want to thank you for what you do. I tell everyone all the time, we are a unique society. We're a family. We have so much in common. We need to fight for each other. We need to spread the word. We're reaching out to the younger generation. They're starting to understand. They're starting to realize it's their time to fight. Because I tell them all the time, we have key legislation, GI Bill, the VA hospital, veterans loans, disability, we would not have without our veterans organizations fighting over the last almost 100 years. What's a disgrace I've seen in the legislation is after a war, it usually takes approximately 20 years before they start reacting to some of the problems that the veterans are dealing with. There's no excuse for that anymore. We're too advanced. But it takes us stepping up and saying that and supporting it. Wouldn't it be great if our national commander next year stood up and said, I have 5 million veterans that I represent versus 1.1? It only takes a little bit of time to join the organization, be part of it, and support it. I support the DAV and American Legion. I've been an American Legion member for 20 years. Have I made a meeting? No. I'm committed to the VFW at this time. But I stay a member because my membership matters to them. As Commander over here Thompson, DAV Commander, correct?
Yes.
You need that membership to help you, to give you the resources, give you the leverage, so you can go out and fight for veterans. So again, thank you for what you have done. I know we have at least one World War II veteran in our presence. Sir, please stand. I believe Roy was going to recognize him too, Mr. Reeder, but thank you. I would not be a member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars if it wasn't for the World War II veterans. I did not serve in combat. I served in Berlin, Germany, an occupied city. I have an honor to serve you. I did not go into combat. Do I miss that? No. But I respect everyone that did. And I feel it's my place now to fight for you and do what we can for this organization, for our veterans. I just want to say again, thank you, Vietnam veterans. Welcome home. Thank you for what you have done. Without you fighting Agent Orange and this disability for the last 30 years, our current generation would not be treated the way they are treated. They would not have the benefits they have. They would not, burn pits would not be recognized. Gulf War Center would not be recognized. We would not have what you have. And again, because of what you went through, and it's a disgrace, when you came home, this younger generation was treated so much better, and they deserved it. It's about time, and it's been the last few years that we finally said, thank you for what you've done. And again, welcome home. Help us out. Let's all fight the fight together, and let's take care of each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commander Rude. I do want you to know that with 1 million members plus, if every person just wrote a letter on Blue Water, on whatever it might be, on any of these issues, it makes a big difference. So please take the time. If you're not computer literate, you can sure put a stamp and a letter in the mail. And you need to do that on a regular basis. Our next speaker is Lloyd Hansen. He is Veterans of Foreign Wars Tennessee State Senior Vice Commander. Lloyd Hansen served in the United States Marine Corps from 1964 to 1968. Commander Hansen did a tour in Vietnam from August 1965 to July 1966. This is what got me when I read his bio. Just listen to what he did. He served as a forward observer, where he called in the artillery and airstrikes on enemy forces under the call sign, Sudden Death 22 Actual. I like that call sign. Call signs were clever names meant to confuse the enemy regarding actual names and locations of units when communicating over the radio. After his tour of duty in Vietnam, Commander Hansen completed 3 tours of duty in Cuba. He has served as post commander for the American Legion detachment commanded with the Marine Corps League. In April 2017, Commander Hansen received a commission of the rank of colonel by the governor of Tennessee, Bill Haslam, which was approved by the General Assembly. Commander Hansen served with the Veterans of Foreign Wars is vast. He has served as post commander. His post received All-Star Post Award. Additionally, he served as the VFW District Commander and has 8 state appointments, 5 national appointments. And in June of this year, he will become the Tennessee State Commander. He is married to his lovely wife, Barbara. Please welcome Mr. Lloyd Hansen.
I have to lower this, I'm not that tall. Unfortunately, the difficulty following the state commander is he takes all my thunder. But he brought up some very good points. How I would start this situation here is a roll call of honor That is what I call it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out a branch of service. And if you have served in that branch, please stand and be recognized. We'll start with the United States Army. All Army veterans, please stand. Gentlemen, thank you for your service. And ladies, I'm sorry, Chief of Staff. United States Marine Corps. Hoorah! Thank you for your service, gentlemen. United States Navy.
All right.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. We'll see if we have anyone. United States Coast Guard. In Vietnam, 2,918,917 people served boots on the ground. Any idea how many are left alive today? Less than 800,000. Death rate is 320 per day, higher than the World War II veterans at its peak. One of the primary reasons, Agent Orange is taking us out left and right. I have Agent Orange. I have Parkinson's disease due to Agent Orange. In Vietnam, the average age was 19 years old. In World War II, that average age was 26. We were all babies. For everyone that had, I have to watch how I say this because there's ladies here, but for everyone that had their boots on the ground and in combat. Actually, the term is ass in the grass. That's what we used to say. You guys know that because you've been there. For everyone that saw combat, we had 11 in support. 11 in support. That's one of the reasons why I'm alive today. Would the Vietnam veterans please stand one more time? Welcome home, guys. To put together an event like this takes a lot of work. And this was a brainstorm of a post commander, all-state post commander from Manchester, Kimberly King. Now, last month, the Veterans of Foreign Wars had a midwinter conference, and I was sitting next to the incoming commander-in-chief. And he said, "Lloyd, what's going on in Tennessee?" So I happened to spend 5 minutes telling Doc Schmidt what this lady is doing. He was very, very impressed. So 2 days later, I received a call from B.J. Lawrence, which is the commander-in-chief of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States. And he says, "Tell me what's going on. I heard this from Doc. Tell me in your own words." So I spent about 15 minutes bragging. So he said, "I'm going to send something to you, and I want you to give it to that commander. Kimberly, would you please come forward?"
It's a check for $1 million.
No, I cashed that one. It was
I must always want to say that.
Kimberly, this is the Commander-in-Chief's pen. And very few people receive these, and he asked me to express his gratitude.
Well, thank you so very much.
At this time, I'm going to turn it back to the MC.
Thank you, Lord.
Okay, our next speaker is Howard Thompson, a good friend of ours. Commander Thompson was raised in Manchester, Tennessee, graduated from Middle Tennessee University in 1966 when he received a draft notice and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army Corps of Engineers. His first assignment was to reestablish a facility to train operators for the U.S. Army gas generating plants. Hey, we've got something in common there. The unit was designed by the 56th Engineer Detachment and was part of the U.S. Army Engineer School at Fort Buffalo. After it became operational, he was assigned as its first commanding officer. In 1967, he was ordered to report to Headquarters Company 593rd General Supply Brigade in Vietnam, where he served as executive officer of an award-winning unit. It participated in 14 campaigns in Vietnam from 1966 to 1972. As the 593rd General Supply Brigade earned its second meritorious unit commendation and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry with Palm. Following his assignment, he became the commander of the 514th Engineering Detachment and was there during the Tet Offensive. Some of the engagements, the 514th, were included in the counteroffensive, Tet counteroffensive phase, Sanctuary counteroffensive, and over a dozen more. After his tour of duty ended in 1968, Commander Thompson returned to Tennessee, now owns and operates Thompson Jewelry in Tullahoma and with his wife, Pat. Commander Thompson has served as past Veterans of Foreign Wars commander of Post 10904, past Senior Vice Commander of the American Legion, Post 78, and past Chairman of the Coffee County Veterans Association. Commander Thompson is also a Mason, past Master of Highland Lodge 214, and a member of Almania Shrine, as well as the Tullahoma Lions Club. Please welcome with me Howard Thompson. Commander Howard.
Thank you. Wow. I admire so much people that can come up here and make a speech like these men did. It's just awesome. I can't do that. See, there's right off the bat. So, since I can't make a speech like these two commanders do, I have to write mine down. And I am so thankful. I am so thankful that Commander King gave me unlimited time. And I wrote my speech down.
5 minutes, Howard, 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes, Howard.
Read fast.
She buku dinky down. She thinks I can do this in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, Howard.
It's a special.
Oh!
It's a special presentation. Oh. Now what do I do? Okay. I'll find something in here. As you can tell, this is going to be a little bit different than what we've had. Who can tell me the first person that said, "Ask not what you can do for your country, but ask what you can do"?
John F. Kennedy.
No?
He said.
No. George St. John. He was John Kennedy's headmaster, and he used that phrase all the time. And the president borrowed it. He did. He did. But think of what a wonderful statement that is. And who best said, "What can I do for my country?" than you. Let me see if I can find something else in here.
5 minutes, Howard.
Who was Leslie Towns Hope? Bob Hope. 57 USO tours. Received more than 2,000 honors in his lifetime. One of only 2 people to ever be granted the status of honorary veteran by the United States Congress. And when he received that honor, I want you to listen carefully to what he said. "I've been given many awards in my lifetime, but to be numbered among the men and women I most admire is the greatest honor I have ever received." Now that's what he thinks of you. His first Christmas tour was in 1964, and his last was in 1972 in Vietnam. While we're talking about that, I'm going to give you some names of people. Now I want you to tell me 2 things that they have in common. You have to listen carefully. Sammy Davis Jr., Phyllis Diller, Red Fox, Jane Fonda, Joey Heatherton, Jane Mansfield, Anne Margaret, Marilyn Monroe, Martha Ray, Colonel Martha Ray, Roy Rogers, Nancy Sinatra, Connie Stevens, and Raquel Welch. General, what in general? Name 2 things. What? Entertainers, that's one.
They're all American.
They are all Americans, that's true. I would count that. They all entertained troops in Vietnam. Every one of them. Did you catch the odd one in there? The only difference is all of them but one entertained United States troops. Could somebody take my thing down there? Thank you. This is something I've always wanted to do all of my life, since I got back from Vietnam. All the presidents have a library built for them. It contains all the things that they did. So I thought Miss Fonda should have a legacy library. If you will look on the sides of this, I have some pictures. And on this side it says Jane Fonda, anti-war or pro-socialist communist. And if you will look at the pictures, the first picture there, she's holding a banner. Look and see what that banner represents. On the other side is the United States Code of Traitor. Read that and look at the pictures and make your own decisions. It says here 2,153,237 people got married last year. Does it strike anybody as odd? Odd? It's an odd number. It doesn't make any sense to me. I was a mathematician. Numbers bother me. And things like that bother me. You know, it just doesn't add up. How could anybody not love this country? I just don't understand. All kidding aside, if you look at this picture here, that is my speech for Saturday. The two things that we did not get when we came home is honor and respect. If you will come Saturday, we've got wonderful music, good program, lots of things going on. And I promise you, if you'll listen to me, you'll hear something you have never heard before. And I think you'll like it. Thank you so much.
I'll say this, that was an awesome speech. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I appreciate your speech, it's much better than mine.
I've got membership applications right here.
Now I get a little bit of time, and it's my privilege to show you some of these things that are covered up around here. And we are very, very, very proud of the community, the general public, the veterans, the schools, the churches. We've gotten things from different states. So it has been a fantastic ride for us. Before I get into that, Kim was driving down from our mountain home up on Altamont, and she called me and she just couldn't control herself. She said, you could not believe, you know, you've seen these internet things where people do stupid things. I want you to picture this. There is a house being pulled down the road. And there was a man on the roof of the house while it's being pulled down the road. You know, I've been with ExxonMobil for a bunch of years, and I know if I'd have gotten pictures of that, I could have gotten some points. You know, I definitely could have gotten some points. But that was a good one. And then I have one other thing that I found this, and William Golding, he definitely knew women a whole lot more than me. But we have a lot of ladies in here, and I just want to say, and just read off what he said about women. And now, he was born in 1911, died in 1993. This is what he said, quote, "I think women are foolish to pretend they are equal to men." And I think the feminists would be going nuts about right now, wouldn't they?
Or you bark first.
Well, let me continue. They are far superior and always have been. Whatever you give a woman, she will make greater. If you give her a house, she'll give you a home. If you give her groceries, she'll give you a meal. If you give her a smile, she'll give you her heart. She multiplies and enlarges what is given to her. So if you give her any crap, be ready to receive a ton of it back. Anyway, okay, we're going to start showing some of these displays. Kim, would you come up? The Disabled American Veteran Display. This display was done, the display of the Vietnam Service Medal with the silhouette of the Vietnam War Memorial, soldiers over top. Mitch Campbell, who did the kitchen and all that, actually cut all of that out for us. And my lovely wife did the decorating. So I think that deserves a great round of applause. The next one is the American Legion display. The soldier stands in respect and sadness at the loss of his friends, whose names appear on the Vietnam War Memorial. The photos are on display are some of the 1,311 soldiers who died in the Vietnam War from the state of Tennessee. I cut the wood out and Kim did all the decorating. So again, thank you. We have a son that's a teacher. God bless his soul. But he teaches engineering in Weatherford, Texas, at Weatherford High School. He managed his students during the construction of this next display. The different individual students produced each of the 8 women veterans who died in Vietnam. Now, what's interesting about it is that his students used a 2014 model 3D printer to make each of these figures. So the students had to use extensive software configuration, and each of those figurines were made by an individual student. The students used geometry to calculate the frame and base. A laser engraver was used for the wording. Kevin said his students were a nervous wreck doing this project. It exposed them to many new detailed technologies. The project also brought some uncertainty as to whether they would be able to produce the lady figurines at all, but also would they be able to complete them by the targeted deadline. As you can see, they were successful at both. And what a wonderful display for those lost nurse veterans. The topics learned by the students, they learned some history on Vietnam. Teamwork, time management, production management, and a dedication and follow-through on a project for a cause larger than themselves. Once the students had completed this project, they were so proud of their accomplishments. And we are very proud of those accomplishments.
Feel free to come up and look at these after we're finished.
And we saved the big one for last.
I'll get Miss Linda to come up.
Yeah.
Linda Roberts.
Miss Linda, would you come up? Are you still here?
Yes, she's seated.
Yeah. While Miss Linda Roberts is coming up, I'll just tell you a little bit about the background of this particular project, which has been over a year long in development. We wanted a project that would involve the entire community and state, and we had fantastic participation from schools, churches, teachers, veterans, and the general public, all actively involved to collect 58,479 toy soldiers. Each one represents a lost soldier in the Vietnam War. This project began in May of last year, and we completed the toy soldier collection in November of 2018. Some of these toy soldiers came from other states, such as Indiana and Florida. Cowan Elementary. Emily, will you stand up? Our Teacher of the Year. National Teacher of the Year. Through Emily's efforts, from her students, the elementary school of Cowan, they collected the most toy soldiers, totaling over 13,000 toy soldiers. Thank you, Emma. Some of the toy soldiers in the display have the names of veterans or loved ones written on the base of the toy soldier, and they are scattered throughout that entire arrangement of soldiers. Now let me tell you about the miracles that went on during this project. I first of all want to thank the Roberts family, Linda, Micah. Micah is the one, my neighbor right next door. Kim and I went across the way and just simply asked Micah for his ideas on what could we do to house these toy soldiers, because we just didn't know what we were going to do at that time. And Micah immediately said, I want to build it for you. And he did. Miss Linda is Micah's mother, and Micah sends his regrets. He has 3 small children, and they're all in different places tonight. So they had to divide up and conquer that. But Miss Linda came in their place. Please give her a round of applause. They own All American Enterprises. Believe it or not, in Altamont, Tennessee, there is a multi-million-dollar company that produces shelving and all kinds of cabinetry for Walmarts all over the world, and other things too, not just Walmart. But they do tremendous work, and they are godly people, so we just thank them very much. Micah told me, this is the first miracle here. Micah told me that he placed a wood order with his purchasing agent. No special request. And when the wood came in, that was going to be used for this particular project, he looked at the stamp on the back of the wood, and it was all from Vietnam. We didn't ask for that. It was all from Vietnam. I don't know if you can believe that or not, but that just takes my breath away. We called on our mathematician friends to figure out what kind of volume we needed to hold all these soldiers. And I'm sad to say that our mathematician friends failed us. They came up with all kinds of different things. Didn't look anything like that. We called on mathematicians, figured the display block size. We would need to hold 58,479 toy soldiers, but none of them gave us the correct dimensions. We had numerous ideas for the display case, but I believe God had a plan. And look what happens when we leave God to do his plan. There it is. So that's number 2. Number 3, when we first looked at our display case, I couldn't take my eyes off of it, just like you, for the longest time. It seemed to completely capture my attention, and maybe for the first time, what all those toy soldiers really meant, who represented real soldiers lost in war, have meant to me and to all of us. Finally, Kim and I transported all the toy soldiers to Micah's shop. We noticed that one of the boxes had been miscalculated. We were exactly 3,257 soldiers short. You see where the speaker is on that barrel? That's where we collected a number of toy soldiers. And Kim said, I know there's toy soldiers in that barrel. So she came back down here, and there was another box of toy soldiers that were still in the paper, in the plastic containers. We brought them back to the house, and we started counting them. Now, you are not going to believe this, but it was 3,257 soldiers without asking anyone else for any other soldiers. That is amazing to me. So, Vietnam Wood, Micah built it out of the kindness of his heart. The soldiers were the exact number that we needed, almost more than I can believe. In conclusion, the gray shade was to represent the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. The display was made on casters so it can be transported to other veteran events in the future. There are 8 pink soldiers representing the 8 nurses that were killed in that war. We didn't specify the size when we asked for these toy soldiers, so they're anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches to 4 inches tall. And as you can see, it came out wonderfully. Could we have a big round of applause? Thank you so much. Okay, so we have the sheets off, and now we're ready for Colonel John Radke. He's going to be the final speaker tonight. And Colonel John W. Radke, U.S. Army, retired, serves as a consultant with the United States Vietnam War Commemoration Office within the Department of Defense. He assists with the strategic planning to thank and honor Vietnam veterans and their families. Who could be more welcome here? John was commissioned through the Army ROTC program in North Dakota. We talked about how cold it can be in North Dakota. I was there with it 60 below, so I know it's cold. He holds a master's degree and entered active duty in 1971. He has served in a wide variety of assignments. He served in the 25th Infantry Division in Hawaii as the Chief Personnel Services Division and Deputy Adjutant General. He was assigned to the Officer Division and Deputy Chief of the Staff of Personnel. He also served in the Office of the Secretary of the Army as an Assistant Director of Executive Communications. He was Principal Coordinating Officer from the Army to the Department of Defense and to the White House for special support functions. John also served the 6th Infantry Division in Alaska as the J-1 of U.S. Atlantic Command at Norfolk, Virginia. His last duty assignment was Director for the U.S. Army Casualty and Memorial Affairs Operations Center. Additionally, he supervised the Commander, U.S. Army Central Identification Laboratory for the search, recovery, and identification of U.S. military personnel missing in action. After retiring, Colonel Radke became the Chief of Army Retirement Services. He is highly decorated and attends this evening with his wife Mary, who is also a graduate of North Dakota State University and holds a master's degree in speech pathology from the University of Washington. She is retired from Fairfax Public Schools systems after 22 years. God bless you. Together they have a son, is a colonel on active duty in the Army, and their daughter has done work with the United Nations on women's global health issues. Please welcome with me Colonel John Radke.
Being last after all of these great speakers is a challenge. So anyway, I was asked to speak, and so what I've done, because the hour is late, is tamped down my 3-hour talk to a 2-hour talk. That didn't go over well. We'll get after it. If you can't hear me, please let me know in the back, and I'll do my best. Let me simply say, Mary and I are honored to be here. I talked with Kim several times before we made the trip, and I knew, and I would tell you, absolutely verified, you have a dynamo in Manchester, Tennessee, with her as the commander. A Navy veteran who just hit home runs every time at bat. And how often do you get a spouse who is the auxiliary president, but you can tell that this couple cares deep in their heart about what we're here to do, what we're here to talk about tonight. So anyway, I join a group of people who spent their lifetime honoring and helping veterans, and I am honored, as is Mary, to be here. Our fathers were in World War II. Our son is a colonel, special forces guy. It has turned out to be family business, and we're damn proud of that service. So my job tonight is a great job, and that's to tell you about the Vietnam War commemoration, what we do there, talk you through that very quickly, and then when I'm done, we're going to present Vietnam lapel pins to any of the folks here that qualify, and I'll walk you through what that's about. Gotta use cheaters to do this. The Vietnam War commemoration was authorized by Congress. It works for the Secretary of Defense. We're a part of DOD, and was launched by the President in 2012. Primary purpose, there are a variety of objectives Congress gave us, but the primary one is to find, thank, and honor those that served on active duty any time from 1 November 1955 through 15 May 1975. And where you served doesn't matter. This is by Congress's authorization. And the intent is to welcome home all of those served wherever they might be. We especially, those of us who made a career in the military, hold a special spot in our heart for those who served in Vietnam, around Vietnam, flew above it, the Blue Water Navy, the Brown Water Navy. Those of us that weren't there, I was not there, but we hold those folks, you folks, in a special spot. So we're here to do that. We have a couple of videos. Now I'm going to step out of the way, and thanks to the electronic help of the Tennessee team here, Tennessee Titan TV augmented people are going to help us, and then I'll be back. Probably should have had the statisticians here to help us, but we'll get there.
nationwide to become partners. And so therefore, it gives us an opportunity to do something above and beyond what we routinely do. We recognize every veteran in hospice. I go to the bedside, like I mentioned earlier, and we have a certificate that we present. I have a proud veteran pin here that we present to every veteran. But having this Vietnam recognition for those that served during the Vietnam era just adds something very unique and special to it.
Well, the first thing I would say, because I can remember the month where we completed the paperwork and sent in the application, is don't hesitate, join the commemoration. You're going to have roughly 10,000 other organizations with you as commemorative partners. The second thing I would say is once having joined the commemoration, stay in touch with the office, because the commemoration office personnel are infinite sources of information, materials, posters, as we have
To me, it's really an outstanding honor. Taking time to kind of recognize those veterans, all the great things they've done for our country. It's about not only our patriotism, but also it's about preserving our history. And then also educating the future generation on all the great things that our men and women have sacrificed and died for us.
Okay, thank you very much for your help. One more time here in a few minutes, and we'll call it a touchdown. Vietnam War Recognition Act of 2017 established the 29th of March in perpetuity as a national day to recognize the previously unsung patriotism of our Vietnam veterans. So, National Vietnam War Veteran Day joined the 6 other national veteran-centric holidays like Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Veterans Day. Our Commander-in-Chief also issued a President's Proclamation in 2017, and I'd like to just quote a small part of that. To ensure the sacrifices of the 9 million heroes who served during this difficult chapter of our country's history are remembered for generations to come, I signed into law the Vietnam War Recognition Act of 2017, designating 29 March of each year as National Vietnam War Veterans Day. Throughout this commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, and every 29 March after that, we will honor all of those who answered our nation's call to duty. We vow to never again confuse personal disapproval of war with prejudice against those who honorably wear the uniform of our armed forces. With conviction, our nation pledges our enduring respect, our continuing care, and our everlasting commitment to all Vietnam veterans, unquote. People ask, why 29 March? The answer is multifaceted. First, March 29th, 1973 was the day U.S. Military Assistance Command Vietnam was disestablished. In addition, 29 March 73 was the day the last combat troops departed Vietnam. Finally, 29 March 1973 was the day Hanoi released the last of the acknowledged prisoners of war. Therefore, March 29th is a fitting choice for our National Vietnam War Veterans Day. In addition, the President's proclamation lists the number of veterans who served during this period as 9 million. This number reflects the fact that our national commemoration honors everyone who served on active duty from 1st of November 55 through May 15th, 1975. No distinction is made between veterans who served in country, in theater, or were stationed somewhere else during the Vietnam War. All were called to serve. None could self-determine where they were stationed, and all were seen in the same way by a country that could not separate the war from the warrior. Each person who served during this period deserves our profound thanks. People also ask, how were these bookend dates chosen? Again, the answer is clear. November 1st, 1955 was selected to coincide with the official designation of the Military Assistance Advisory Group Vietnam, or MAGV, while May 15th, 75 marks the end of the battle precipitated by the seizure of the SS Mayaguez, and the names of the U.S. Marines that were killed in that battle are listed on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington. So tonight we gather for 3 reasons. First, to honor those from this part of Tennessee and all of Tennessee and all of America who, in President Abraham Lincoln's words, gave their last full measure of devotion. Those who to us are family are also counted among the 53,000 plus men and women, their average age 22 years, whose names are engraved in the polished black granite of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, also known as the Wall in D.C. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember all of those 58,000 who never came back. Thank you. Next, we recognize those who served but are no longer among us, as well as their families who endured sacrifices in supporting their service. If you are family to someone who served during the Vietnam War but is no longer with us, would you please stand in their place and allow us to honor you both? Thank you. Finally, we gather tonight to humbly thank the Vietnam veterans living in our community. So I ask everyone who served on active duty from the 1st of November 55 through 15 May 75 to stand, or raise your hand if you're unable to stand, and we recognize and applaud you. Clearly, there's something special about this day that beats in our hearts. Is it the memory of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice that cuts into our fiber as individuals, just as it cut into the stone on that great memorial. Or the sobering fact that there are 1,589 that are still considered missing in action, and their families await word of their fate. Or of the more than 350,000 American warriors who carry both seen and unseen scars in this war, and more than likely some carrying those scars are with us here tonight. Perhaps it is the fact that those who just stood returned home to a nation in turmoil, and the vast majority received no recognition for their service or welcome home ceremonies hosted by their communities, replete with the applause, waving flags, and cheers that our current warriors get. We're glad they do. But all of you that served there didn't have it. So we have another video we'd like to show at this time.
Can I help you?
Just a cup of coffee, please.
Coming right up. Oh, there's my charge.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thanks again. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your support.
Can we take a picture?
Sure.
Alright, smile. There you go. Sir, my son would like to ask you a question. Are you a hero too? That man said you were.
I just served as best I could.
Can we take a picture?
Sure.
Smell good. We say, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your support.
Can I get you a refill?
We call that our tear jerker. Trust me, I'm not Cecil B. DeMille. It had nothing to do with it. We got a lot of technical, great folks back then. Whatever the reason, it's important that every one of you Vietnam veterans and your families understand the prominent place you occupy in the conscience of this nation. Hopefully the following facts will lend credence to those words. Over the past 7 years, more than 11,000 local, state, and federal organizations like this VFW post are commemorative partners and have sponsored over 15,000 ceremonies to honor Vietnam-era service members. Our team this weekend is going to 14 different events like this, and we've helped 1,400 others by sending out material. So that's part of what our mission is, to individually thank and honor. We've honored 2.3 million of the 6.4 million living Vietnam-era veterans. Sadly, we're losing about 550 of them each and every day. So our mission is not complete. It won't be completed until 2025. This is the longest commemoration of any of the celebrations that the U.S. has sponsored. So it's a noble mission. A lot has been done, but a lot remains. And the reality is that there is no sunset to patriotism. You and I and our families don't get to stop. It's our duty to continue to remember those who served, and our duty to serve in a variety of ways. You have leaders, you have speakers, you have great folks that can do a lot of things. Some people don't talk, they're like lighthouses. Lighthouses don't talk, they just show the way in stormy times. So folks, we need you to keep being a part of what you've been a part of. We believe America is both a noun and a verb. It's a noun because it's a country, it's a great country. It's a verb because America is in action. And organizations that you're a part of and you represent are full of action, making sure that young people understand the service of those that went before them, remembering those that are currently serving. And I would tell you, they understand that freedom is not free. Ask the soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, coasties, and their families. It's not free. So keep them in your thoughts and prayers. As the lasting momentum of the nation's gratitude, the commemoration designed a Vietnam veteran lapel pin. And I noted when I walked in that many of you wear it, and I'm glad Kim said that you'll see an awful lot of folks that have been awarded it, and that again is emblematic of this VFW post that you do such great work. The pin is beautifully struck, features an eagle's head representing courage, honor, dedicated service. The stripes represent our nation's flag, and there are 6 stars representing the allies that served, sacrificed, and fought along with us. All of this is encircled by a ring of blue, like the U.S. flag, and signifies this vigilance, perseverance, and justice. The phrase that guides us and is on the back of the pin is "A grateful nation thanks and honors you." So what I'd like to do at this point in time, with the assistance of Kim and some others, is to ask you if you served on active duty at any time between November the 1st, 55 and 15 May 75, come down and receive a pin. We'd be honored to pin it on you, or if you would rather we didn't pin it on you, we understand. But we want you to do that. And I would ask, as these individuals are up here, please give them applause. We've been holding our applause for 50 years. It's time to not hold it anymore. So we'll do that, and before we do that, I would just like to say again, I am honored to be here. It is absolutely a wonderful experience to come out. I'm glad that my bride of almost 47 years could join me. God takes care of us in a variety of ways, and Mary's here to do that for me. So thank you. At this point in time, would any of the veterans who've not received a pin, please come down, and we're going to fix that right now. Thank you.
Is this where you wanted me to help you?
Yeah.
for your service, Joe.
I didn't mean to shock you. Shocking experience. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Jim?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to put it right here.
Don't hurt.
Try not to hurt. Smile.
I've been stuck a lot. Yeah, that's true.
Were you a nurse?
I was corny.
Foreman? Thank you for your service.
She patched up all these guys.
I was an Air Force foreman, so I understand.
Yeah.
A different kind of patching up. I know. That's all they'd let you do, right? Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Would everybody that's getting a pen, do you want to stay so we get a picture?
Because I want a picture by the
That's a
outhouse.
camera, isn't it?
I don't know what that is.
Camera.
Yeah, it is. It's a camera.
Well, I just knocked it out of whack.
All right. You're going to get our picture?
That's interesting looking camera.
It is.
Not right now.
Oh, really? It does 360s? Full panoramics.
Don't spoil the picture.
Oh, I've seen a couple. I've just never seen one designed that way. Watch out. Watch out. You're going to get tangled up in the tripod.
Thank you, my brother.
Then you'll have 5 legs.
I'm going to let a few of y'all through here so she can help you. Some of you already got some. Come on up. Come on up so we can get more done here. Howard, yeah, I did. Thank you. You really did. Good job. Something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to be a Marine.
I would like to tell everyone the TV on the side.
Hey, Becky, I'm going to pin you.
People in Tennessee that died in Vietnam. Kim found all the pictures, so the TV on the side wall over there actually shows all those people.
You want to check in? Go on and shake their hands too.
Let him by.
Yeah, I'm trying not to step on that.
Oh, Bob, hello, sir. Put it on? I can. Be careful. Be careful. I'm going to put it up here. Hey, Becky. So leave the cover off so it pinches it. No, there you go. I'm kidding.
Are they going to bring this?
There you go.
What's happening in the fairground this weekend? I don't know. Are they going to bring all this out to the fairground this weekend?
I know, but probably the outhouse too. It's supposed to come out. I met y'all when y'all were in Winchester Friars. Trying to make my way
They're going to bring those out there Saturday? Thank you. We'll get back
Last weekend we did training.
That's right.
Everybody does that.
You're on the card, the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, they are.
That's okay, I'll just pick one up.
And I know you're.
There, you did a good job.
Thank you.
It's kind of self-explanatory. Some of us just get the license, it's not very expensive compared to other places. We're happy to have you. And we meet the second Monday each month, right? Just see on the website. But I hope you come Saturday. I will come Saturday.
I graduated from high school at 16.
Okay, folks, if you received a pen, please come forward. We want to get a group picture. Please come forward. If you received a pen, come forward. We'd like to get a group picture.
That's all I got.
Yes, we have shirts and hats over for sale over by the door. And a couple things I didn't say in this box. We also have the POW MIA, the little clear box that's in the middle. That's for the missing in action. I thought it was pretty nice.